Welcome to this course, and today's class we are going to talk about the third hazard. In the Fatal 4 we have discussed about fall hazards, concrete demolition as an operation with regard to fall hazard. Then we have discussed about cave-ins. Excavation is where you will see cave-ins tremendously, and along with the cave-ins we also have discussed confined spaces as part of tunneling operation. So, now in continuation with that series, now the next one is struck by or caught in between. There is a slight difference between struck by and caught in between, which is what we will see today, and again one or two operations where this is seen tremendously will be material handling and crane operation. So, material handling and piling we will discuss today's class, and crane handling with the hazards with regard to cranes and safe operation with cranes we will discuss in the next lecture. Okay, so, now what is struck by? Now, there are two terms which comes in together, one is struck by and the other one is struck against, and again in same way it is caught in or caught in between. Okay. The terms are little familiar to you. If you can translate exactly, you will get the same meaning. So, accordingly we will now discuss what is it, and the pictures also will help you to understand what is the struck by and struck against. Struck by injuries are produced by forcible contact or impact between the injured person and an object or a piece of equipment. When a worker's injury results from being struck against an object, it is referring to a worker hitting on an object. Okay. So, worker will not go and hit. For example, there are instances when the worker is hitting against an object. For example, a worker may be injured if he is running over into an overhead pipe or corner or vehicle or with another person and so on. Struck by are generally with regard to falling objects, flying objects, rolling objects which are on the floor and starts without, when you do irregular stacking of objects, then it starts rolling away, and with regard to material movement in the site, swinging, all these can be resulting in a struck by accident. Okay. So, this hooks, all these lifting rigs, rigging operations which we will elaborately see in the next class are all examples for struck by accidents. Now, what is caught in? According to OSHA, caught in or between hazards are defined as injuries resulting from a person, maybe he squeezed in between or caught or crushed or compressed between two or more objects. Okay. So, especially with the vehicle movement or when the vehicle is in operation, you try to repair or do something, then you accidentally you get caught in or between these hazards. Okay. So, caught in or between hazards, caught in is caught between two things and between is in between two objects. For example, a wheel and a wall. Okay. The worker leg is caught in caught between. Or cast when a worker is compressed between or gets caught in equipment or object. It includes when a worker is killed by getting caught, struck or crushed from material, equipment or even from a collapsing structure. Okay. Especially in a disaster collapse it can happen. Now, as I told, so we will discuss about the caught in between and struck by or struck against hazard with regard to material handling in the construction sites. There are so many material which are handled in a construction site. So, whenever we talk about material handling, it includes loading. Okay. So, primarily loading onto the trucks, then handling in the site, primarily fabrication and then unloading in the site. Okay. So, loading, handling, unloading, disposal and storage. Okay, and usage. So, all these primarily will be comprising in terms of material handling. So, material handling is a common term which we generally use to cover up all these different tasks, okay, with regard to materials. Now, what are the materials which are generally handled in the site? So, there are lot of raw materials and also processed materials. Raw materials include coarse aggregate, fine aggregate, cement, okay, structural steel, bricks, etc. So, it can be some of them, for example, steel can be in an assembled form from a fabricated shop, or it can be assembled in the site. Okay. So, there can be so many different sorts of material which are generally moved or are used in the construction site during the progress of construction work. And apart from this, you also have carriage of lot of consumable items like diesel, paint, timber, glass and so on, which are also used and consumed in the process. Now, all these above items and many more that may be required for construction work has to be loaded, unloaded, handled manually or either mechanically by using equipments, okay, disposal, usage and also the scrap. Okay. So, throwing away the scrap. So, all these are primarily part of material handling steps. So, what are the different causes of accidents during transportation and material handling work? Any this is generalized, okay, with which will suit any material, any equipment with which you are handling the materials. Mechanical fault in the vehicle, operator is inattentive or inexperienced, operator takes chances while negotiating through narrow space or crowd, wrong handling of heavy material or hazardous material, or stacking of material in unsafe stacks and not in equilibrium. Okay. When you are piling up the material, it should be tapering on the top. Okay. You have to pile it up like that, so that it is not actually falling off, or it should be towards the center and the equilibrium has to be maintained. Okay. So that it will not be staggering and falling down. Manual ways of handling is still seen in many construction sites because of one advantage. Maybe I can say there are two advantages. There are surplus a number of unskilled workers who are in the site, with whom you can actually do a very cheap and economical way of material handling in construction sites. The other advantage is manual handling is in a way safer compared to mechanical way of handling. When you say mechanical way of handling, you can think of forklifts, you can think of crane or even any other excavating equipments that are available in the site, through which you can still handle the materials in the site. And in some construction sites, conveyor belts are also used for carriage of materials, okay, especially for cement, concrete and so on. So, lot of these equipments or mechanized means of material handling are all feasible in construction site, which will be faster, quicker. You can also ignore or eliminate the ergonomics hazard, or maybe the workers are exposed to cement, handling cement or concrete. So, you can eliminate all those ergonomic hazards and other chemical hazards with regard to those substances. You can still eliminate, but the one issue is you have to be very careful on when it comes to safety precautions. Inside the premises of big or large construction sites and fabrication shops, you may have to handle lot of bulk quantities of materials every day, and it becomes necessary to install mechanized material handling systems, which will add to the efficiency in a material handling job. I told the pros and cons of material handling manually and also mechanical means. So, same time, so introduction of sophisticated machines and handling the systems may create safety hazards unless they are taken care of properly. So, and there are so many ways with which materials are handled. For example, forklifts, belt conveyors, slings, lot of crane types starting from electric overhead travelling crane, which we call EOT cranes, gantry cranes, tower cranes, hoists and derricks, travelling jib cranes, mobile cranes and so on. Safety hazards in old, okay, when you have pretty old a mechanical machine for handling the material. So, this machine may get efficiency may be lost over period of time because of wear and tear and continuous usage that you may have to take care. Lack of absence of maintenance, okay, primarily you have to keep the machine in good condition till it is operational. Environmental corrosion, okay, maybe rust and other issues can be spoiling the usage of the machine progressing. Then fatigue of structural components because of wear and tear and overloading on the material handling, the equipment or structural components may get weakened and fatigue. So, as a result it may crack and it may also break. The major hazards associated with the material handling, especially in a mechanical way, are So, using mechanical equipment to move and store material increases the potential for employee injuries. Okay, although it is faster, quicker, productivity may be enhanced and so on, but there is a lot of opportunity for an worker to get hurt. Okay, these are the different ways in which a worker may get hurt. Improper operation of equipment, accumulated materials are cluttering. Okay, so you should be having a proper housekeeping. Unsafe conditions of materials or containers. Okay, you should know how to stack different types of materials. We will be discussing in shortly on how to stack different types of materials. When it comes to flammability or toxic materials available, then you should be handling it very safely as per safety norms. Weight of the material. Okay. So, as seen in the picture, so not overloading of too much of material onto the, so you should know what is the equipment safe load and what is the safe lifting load of the processes, maybe using a slings or maybe the hook. You should know what is the maximum safe load material can be handled. Binding ties or other devices that secure bundles or bound materials, falling objects, lifting, pushing, pulling or otherwise manually moving large or heavy items. Even though mechanical means of handling is there, still you may have to also do little of lifting, pushing and pushing the material into the equipment. Improperly stacked materials, and the one which is very common and for what we are discussing is struck in or struck by and caught in between hazards, contact with objects and equipment, transportation incidents and accidents, exposure to harmful substances and environments. Okay. So, generic safety measures on with regard to PPEs, fencing, barricading when the manual handling is going on and all, we are not discussing. Okay. I am not covering because we have enough covered in the earlier part of the lectures. So, all those generic precautions, safety precautions still is valid for these one or two remaining topics as well. Main causes of hazards with regard to forklifts. So, now we are going to discuss about forklifts and conveyor belts. So, forklifts, the main hazard is forklift overturning, primarily we call it as a tipping or overturning. Forklift striking the workers on foot, okay, maybe a blind spot or okay, maybe the driver couldn't see the workers standing. So, the forklift striking workers on foot is a very common hazard. And the person crushed by forklifts, okay, again due to blind spots, or person falling from forklifts, maybe forklift is not primarily meant for passenger travel. Okay. If somebody is trying to load onto the forklift, then you may have falling from forklifts and objects or material falling onto the workers, primarily a fall hazard. So, these are all the different forklift hazards. Driving a forklift, so only a skilled operator is supposed to operate. Okay, and whenever there is an obstructed vision in the passage of the forklift, you should have a bystander worker or a person who is away from the forklift to help or channelize the movement of forklifts in the construction sites. Travel path, okay, approaching people, elevated platform and all, when the raising or lowering of forks, safe distance between the other materials and other machinery in the site. So, all these are generic precautions when you are driving a forklift, and especially when the forklift is drove along a grade or a ramp, you should be extremely cautioned, and no turns when you are going on a slope. No turns, tilting and raising load are also not allowed there, and point load up the incline. Operating speed, especially when you are turning, you should be going on a proper speed. You should maintain all the safety norms and the speed with which you have to go in a construction site. Avoid collisions whenever there is a wet or a slippery floor. You should be cautioned on those floors, because you are also carrying weight along with the forklift, especially when you are ascending or descending or whenever there is an obstructed vision. So, you should be very careful in reducing the speed with which your forklift is moving in the site. Avoid excess weight, and also more than excess weight, you should also center the weight and see to that center of gravity is maintained. Use of dog boards for loading and unloading. So, dock boards are nothing but they are like the stops, okay, as seen in this figure. So, they are like the stops primarily used for loading and unloading. So, you should be securing the portable dock boards, and also there should be hand holds for easy handling of these dock boards. When you are exiting the lift or entering the lift, you should be very cautious in putting the forklift in normal neutral position, and then you should be doing, and when you are loading or unloading also, the forklift should be in a proper position. Riding the forklift, no extra passengers are allowed. Even there is an exception for unloading or for movement of these material, then a seat should be provided for the extra passenger, and otherwise no extra passenger is allowed inside a forklift. Avoid struck by or crushed by. Don't jump from an overturning forklift. Stay with the forklift truck only, and hold on firmly, especially when it is about to overturn, and then try to get down from the direction opposite to the overturn, so that you are safely away from the forklift. Some of the posters are given here for forklift safety. Never pass loads over people. Okay, so when there are people movement, you should not be moving the forklifts in that position. Pedestrians are not allowed to cross. There should be no crossing over with the pedestrian crossing and the forklift crossing. No passengers on the load or even on the bare forklift, and lift workers one in an approved work platform. Okay. So, this we have discussed earlier also. Forklift is not like a suspended scaffold for the workers to work, unless it is meant for and designed for that. Okay. So, that adequate safety precautions are all maintained. For example, there is a guardrail and all provided for the forklift, so that the worker is able to work. If the load is blocking a view, you should have a spotter to guide you as to how to proceed in a safer direction. So, forklift safety again, so always keep it slow, and whenever you are moving in a congested sites, and face your load uphill, and when you are going downhill, you should travel in a reverse. So, always a load should be pointed only in the upward direction. Do not travel or turn with a raised load. So, always the load should be lowered when you are turning or traveling, because it may also tend the forklift to tip over. Be careful of rare end swings. Okay. So, all these we have discussed here. So, these are some of the precautions with regard to forklifts. Now, let us discuss about conveyors. When using conveyors, workers may get their hands caught in. This is a common hazard we see in many of the conveyor belt accidents, where the conveyor medium runs near the frame or over support members. So, when the workers are trying to load or unload the material, especially onto the conveyor belt, their hands get in caught between the conveyor belt and the load. The workers also may be struck by material falling off the conveyor when the conveyor is not loaded with the material in a stable or stacked way manner. Then obviously, you may have rolling over objects, okay, which may fall on and struck the worker, or they may also get caught in the conveyor and drawn into the conveyor path as a result, if the conveyor belt is is moving in a little more than a normal speed. Precautions: install an emergency button to stop the conveyor at the employee's workstation, and prohibit the employees from riding on a materials handling conveyor. Provide guards where the conveyor pass over work areas to keep employees from being struck by or falling materials. Install emergency stop cables that extend the entire length of the continuously accessible conveyor belt, so that the workers can try to stop whenever it is required. Ensure appropriate personnel inspect the conveyor and clear the stoppage before restarting the conveyor that has stopped previously due to an overload. And this is primarily called a screw conveyor. So, this screw conveyor has to be completely covered. Screw conveyors are used for handling cement in the construction sites, and especially in the loading and unloading or discharge points, this screw conveyors has to be completely covered to prevent all the hazards. Okay. Safety while stacking materials. So, stacking materials can be a very serious potential for struck by or falling objects or caught in between hazards. So, safety materials can be dangerous if the workers do not follow safety guidelines. They should know how to stack cement, how to store your cement bags or fine aggregates or even bricks in the construction site. If they do not follow the safety norms, then obviously you are going to have any of the hazards. Falling materials and collapsing loads can crush or pin workers, causing injuries or death. Precautions, some of the precautions I have picked out. So, there are too many precautions for all of the materials available in the IS code and in the OSHA subparts. You can go through it later. Stack lumber no more than 16 feet high if it is handled manually, and not more than 20 feet if it is handled using a forklift. Ensure the stacks are stable and self-supporting. Do not store pipes and bars in racks that face main aisles to avoid creating a hazard to passers-by. And when removing the supplies, always when you are stacking the material, you should always allow movement of the worker without disturbing the stacked loads. Stack bags and bundles in interlocking rows to keep them secure. And also there are a lot of norms. It should not be touching the godown, say the materials godown on any of the corners, not even till the roof level, or it is actually leaning on to the roof level or to the side walls. And all these are not safe when you are stacking cement. Okay, these precautions are all available in the IS code. You should have a plank or some support, an elevated support, so that, and you start stacking your cement bags so that water or any wet substance, okay, it is not damaging the cement. Stack drums, barrels and kegs symmetrically and block the bottom tires of drums, barrels and kegs to keep them rolling off if they are stored on their sides. And place planks, sheets of plywood, dunnage or pallets between each tire of drums, barrels and kegs to make a firm flat stacking surface when you are stacking on ends. And check the bottom tire of drums, barrels and kegs to prevent shifting in either direction, especially when you are storing 2 or more tires high. Paint walls or posts with stripes to indicate the maximum stacking limit, so that it is easy to identify for quick references. You need not check the height each and every time. Observe height limitations when stacking materials, and when you are putting lot of posts or painting it, so that it is very visible as to what is the maximum limit of stacking a material. And stack loose bricks not more than 7 feet height and more than 4 feet high, you should start tapering down. Okay. So, after 4 feet you should start tapering, okay, leaving half a brick and width, so that it is not actually falling down and creating a struck by hazard, fall hazard. Transportation of materials. So, during transportation also there are a lot of precautions you may have to follow. So, this transportation can happen most often in a site with the help of dump trucks or trailer. Site specific safety factors, you should always think of what is the type of material to be transported. Choice of appropriate transport. So, depends on the type of material also, condition of the road and the efficiency and training of drivers. So, these will decide the load limit and the type of material and the choice of the equipment as well for transporting materials. Also, you should also note down wear and tear of tires. So, wear and tear can happen due to continuous abrasion with the road surface, because the wheels are moving along road. So, there can be friction which can happen, and also due to fatigue, especially when you are loading up the trucks or your trailers too much more than the normal capacity, the equipment may have lot of fatigue, blistering, overloading, overheating of the tires can also happen. Okay. And when you are moving along electrical supply lines, telephone lines and water supply lines, these may come along the roadside, and you should be knowing that they are not protected always. So, and you cannot be taking care of those protections. So, you should be carefully driving when you are transporting the materials along the road. Okay. And when you are handling the equipment using equipments like clamshell or any other cranes or something, you should also keep in mind of the overhead clearance with the electrical power lines and so on, that also has to be checked. Now, next operation is primarily called piling. So, we will discuss about the pile driving equipment. So, mechanized piling rigs. So, this is primarily a crane mounted piling rig, okay, which is used to drive a pile beneath the soil for foundation. Okay, and this is primarily the pile driving arrangement. You have a hammer, okay, and this is a strike plate, there is a cushion or a dolly there, and there is a helmet beneath, okay, and then plywood in case of concrete piles, and then you have the pile head and the which we call as a pile cap, and then the pile which is primarily driven inside. And there are so many types of hammers available, single head, double head, drop hammers and so on, there are lot of varieties available. So, drop hammer has this mechanism, you have a heavy load, and with the number of beats onto the pile is driven into the soil. Vibratory hammer, with the help of vibration you try to displace the soil and move the pile into the soil. The other one is a pneumatic hammer. Okay. Now, we will discuss about the pile drivers, and this is a complete crane mounted pile setup. Okay. Pile drivers should not be erected in a dangerous proximity, primarily close to electric conductors and so on, because when the load is, most of these parts are made of galvanized steel. So, you may have electric shocks and electrocution may happen. So, you have to be very careful that it is not in the close vicinity of electric power cables and so on. Adequate clearances should be maintained when you are doing a pile driving operation. If two pile drivers are erected at one place close to each other, and these should be separated by a distance of at least equal to the longest leg in the either rig. No pile driving equipment shall be taken into use unless it is inspected and certified that it is safe for use. You should not be using it, and the pile drivers shall be firmly supported on heavy timber sills or concrete beds, so that there is a proper stable foundation. And the pile driving equipment in use shall be inspected by a competent engineer at regular intervals, but not more than 3 months. Okay, before that the inspection should have been done, and during inspection if any defective parts are identified, they also should be repaired and again inspected by the same competent person. All bolts and nuts which have come loose because of the vibration due to the pile driving mechanism, all should be checked regularly and tightened. When not in use, the hammer shall be in the drop position and not in the hanging position, and shall be kept in place by suitable means. You can think of any place of means of setting the hammer in a proper rest position. Motor gearing, transmission, electric wiring and any other dangerous parts of these hoisting appliances should be provided with proper safeguards, so that it is not creating a struck by or an other hazards. When loads have to be inclined, they shall be adequately counterbalanced, so that the tipping of the piling equipment does not happen. Adequate precautions should be taken to prevent a pile driver from overturning, maybe even when a wheel breaks or unstable soil conditions, or it can be maybe a wrong positioning of the pile. So, there can be tipping over of hazard. So, that has to be taken care of. And adequate precautions shall be taken to prevent the hammer from missing the pile. So, this point load, first you have to fix the hammer onto the pile. So, that center of place, okay, that has to be maintained before you start driving the pile. If necessary, long piles and heavy sheet pilings should be secured against fall hazards. Effects on adjacent structures: when you are doing the pile driving operation, sometimes this vibration or even the blow can be lot of hazards created to the neighboring structures, starting from dust, okay, starting from noise. Okay, so, all these PPEs the workers has to wear, and you have to barricade the structure completely, especially when you are doing the piling operation. In driven piles, vibration is set up which may cause damage to adjoining structures or even service lines, depending on the nature of soil condition and the construction standard of such structures and service lines. When you are doing bore piles, measures should be taken to ensure that there is no appreciable movement of soil mass into the borehole or which may also cause subsidence or to any existing foundation which is very close, which is in the very close vicinity of the pile which is driven. So, due care should be taken primarily because of dust pollution, noise with the residents of the adjacent structures, the danger of the rig collapsing onto the adjacent structure. So, underpinning, sheet piling, shoring or bracing, all these can be thought of as a safety precaution to prevent a adjacent structure. Recap. So, we have discussed about struck by and caught in between hazard. So, never position yourself between moving and fixed objects, wear high visibility clothes near equipment or vehicles so that the driver is able to see you properly. Caught in or between, never enter an unprotected trench. Unprotected trench is also one of the caught in hazard. Excavation 5 feet or deeper without an adequate protective system in place, it can be sloping, shielding or trenches. Some trenches under 5 feet deep may also need such a system. The next, forklift operation. So, forklift operations, always wear a safe seat belt when the vehicle has one. Never exceed the rated load and ensure it is always forklift is balanced. Place the forklift in neutral and set it in parking brake before raising the load. Keep a safe distance from the platform and the ramp edges. Be aware of other forklifts which are operational in the work area. Have clear visibility of the work area when loading and operating a forklift. Use a grab bar and proper footing to enter the forklift. Use lights, mirrors and horns while moving in the site. Watch for pedestrians. Observe the speed limit, especially while you are going on ascending, descending, or when you are on a wet floor and when you are loading and unloading. Maintain all the safety norms. Do not use forklifts to lift people, okay, and always trained workers should only operate a forklift. Maintenance, remove from service any forklift found to be in an unsafe operating condition, and always keep the forklifts in clean condition, free of lint, excess oil, grease, especially on the glass, mirrors and so on. Recap again. So, struck by hazards and caught in and between hazards. Struck by hazards, main common ones are vehicles and cranes. Cranes we will see in the next lecture. Falling or flying objects, constructing masonry and concrete walls. Caught in or between, primarily trenching, unguarded machinery and equipment, primarily forklifts, cranes and so on. Okay. And these are the references which I have used for making this material ready. Thank you.